Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to another Axel 72 video. And in today's video, I'm going to be giving my instant reaction to Brian Norman Jr. winning via KO in round 5 versus Jin Sasaki. And so if you are new around here and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so, like the video if you do indeed like the video, and let's get straight into this. So this was arguably one of the knockouts of the year and could be a contender for knockout of the year at the end of the year. A it was a great knockout. It was set up perfectly well realistically. I mean, yes, Sasaki was making multiple kind of basic errors which were leading to openings being available to Norman, but just the way that Sasaki kind of went, that Norman went to the body, found the opening of Sasaki continuously dropping his hand, and then Norman Jr. sprung in with that big shot, that big hook, and it was just beautiful, to be completely honest. And then flat out cold was Jin Sasaki, who, I mean, the ref should have really jumped on straight away and saw that this was not going to go any further. Instead, he was very nonchalant and was just kind of strolled up to him, started counting, saw that it wasn't going to happen, and then kind of slowly waved his hands in front of Sasaki before kind of then eventually encouraging others to come and have a look at him. And when a knockout like that bad has just happened, you can see, what's just happened, and the ref's gonna have seen the exact same thing. He's probably gonna have seen just how bad it is because of how close he was to the fight. And so I feel like you just need to get that kind of next level of urgency to really get in there, because I mean Sasaki was stretched out the ring this fight. This wasn't just an ordinary knockout. This was a big knockout, and you could see it. And again, like I say, it's just something like that. I feel like should have had a little bit more kind of urgency towards it. And I mean, credit to Sasaki throughout the entirety of the fight for continually trying to make the fight entertaining and coming forward. He really showcased his style in this fight, and his style is just kind of give your all, just brawl, want to create a fight, want to be entertaining type style. And he definitely achieved that. I mean, he got knocked down twice in that first round to Norman. And, at that point, fans are expecting it to be a very short night. Fans are thinking that Norman Jr. is probably going to get him out of there within the next punch or so. But then, of course, Sasaki was able to still survive another 4 more rounds afterwards. And to be fair, he was, having pockets of success to an extent. I mean, for the most part, Norman Jr. was able to do whatever he wanted. But I think in the fourth round, he kind of rallied back up a bit and then gained a bit more confidence again. But you could see the clear power difference between each of their shots. I mean, Sasaki, of course, has fought in the super lightweight division, and that was the last time in which arguably he'd fought at that high of a level, of course, when he lost versus Hirooka. And so you could see a bit of a significant size difference, and like I say, especially power difference between the two of them. But yet again, another great knockout victory for Norman Jr. That is 3 in a row. I mean, since he's become champion, he has, of course, now defended his belt twice and via stoppages twice, and seemingly the stoppages just keep getting better. And I mean, I don't think he's going to be able to top this knockout in his next fight, but still, it's like I say, a great performance, and it's getting the fans on his side. I feel like when he first became champion, a lot of fans were very skeptical about him and were thinking that perhaps, he might just kind of fade away and might not be able to defend his belt too many times. Obviously, he hasn't been tested at the highest level, and people were saying that he kind of ducked to boots fights when Eddie Hearn and Matchroom were trying to work that fight to actually happen. It obviously didn't come to fruition, and now we're seeing Ennis move on. And it is interesting to now see that Norman Jr. is kind of slandering Ennis to an extent. He said that they've got their boots and ran. And, it's a bit of an interesting comment to make now, saying the fact that Norman Jr. did have the fight there ready waiting for him straight after the Santillan win. But again, you can't blame him for wanting to get a few defenses under his belt, gain that world level experience, and then hopefully now he'll go on to fight a big fight. But like I say, like I've touched upon in my prediction video, there really isn't a tremendous amount of big names in the welterweight division. And when you have somebody who is the number one in the division already in Norman Jr. and hasn't realistically had a huge name test just yet, it is going to be tricky to find him an opponent in which is suitable enough in this division, because I feel like he's not going to have any incentive to move up, because at the moment, like I say, he's the big name in the division. So I mean, you could possibly, like I touched upon in my prediction, look at an Alexis Rocha fight, and I think that probably is quite a good fight to make. But of course, Rocha's had his fights as well, which he's not looked the best in and has been kind of beaten up in, especially that Santillan fight. And so, is that a fight that the fans are going to be really excited to see? I'm not entirely sure, but we'll have to wait and see what happens with his career. But for now, like I say, that was a brutal knockout, and it will be intriguing to see when the Ring magazine come and do their knockout of the year and their award ceremony of the year, if Norman Jr.'s knockout is kind of up there, because it definitely has the makings to be. And another fight in which I wanted to touch upon, which was for the IBF vacant IBF World Light Flyweight title, was Thanongsak Simsri versus Cristian Araneta, in which Simsri won via split decision. I got my prediction wrong for this one. I thought that Araneta would win via stoppage in, I think, round 5. I thought he'd be able to do it quite early. He did drop Simsri in round 3, and at that point I was kind of again thinking that perhaps this might be his opportunity, because Araneta is a powerful puncher and he is often able to cause a lot of problems to fighters, especially when he does land with his big right, and he did that and he dropped him. But then Simsri, he came back into it again. I mean, he still took a couple more big shots from Araneta in the 4th round, but then 5th, kind of then through to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, arguably even to the end of the fight, he pretty much just rallied back into it. And what he was doing was nothing really that crazy. He was kind of just patting shots at Araneta, and it was kind of just doing enough, to be honest. I mean, he found his distance relatively well. He was moving quite well. He wasn't just in one stagnant position. He was having his occasional moments where he was having success. I think in the 6th or the 7th round, there was a bit of an exchange when Araneta was coming in with a big shot and Simsri was able to catch him on 2 occasions, from what I can believe, with some nice shots. And I think that did maybe discourage Araneta a little bit, because Simsri did showcase his power, in which I was interested to see if he would be able to do, because of course he has quite a few knockouts on his resume, but he hasn't really fought a tremendous kind of set of big names, except from when he fought Yabuki, and of course he got knocked out then. So it was interesting to see if he would be able to showcase any sort of power, because in that fight he didn't really do so in that Yabuki fight, which was, like I say, one of his only major step ups. But he looked good, and yes, like I say, he landed a couple powerful shots. Then he went back to just kind of pit pattering away. He really wasn't, like I say, landing too much significant. On the odd occasion, he would come in with a flurry when Araneta would get frustrated and try and throw a body shot downstairs, because he would leave himself open when he was doing so. And Simsri would come forwards and have a little bit of success then. But for the most part, he was kind of just patting away at his glove. And I mean, it's not really a strategy in which I'd recommend, but I mean, it was definitely intriguing to see how well it was working, because Araneta was definitely loading up on his shots and he was getting frustrated. You could see that at the end of the 11th round, as Araneta walked back to his corner. You could see that he was trying to psych himself up, and he was getting some frustrations in there, because he was loading up on his shots and he just wasn't able to get anywhere with them, as Simsri was just continuously kind of just out of range to be able to do anything. So it was more of a defensive strategy than anything else from Simsri. But like I say, he tasted the power. He didn't really want to probably taste it again, so he just kind of found a range that was just outside of range and was enough for him to just about reach the gloves for him to be able to pit patter shots with, and inevitably it won him a split decision, which arguably could have been more so a unanimous decision. But yeah, so credit to Simsri. Now he's now champion. I don't think he could go in against any of the other champions at the moment, but perhaps, like I touched upon, he could perhaps go on to fight a non-Chinga again. Maybe that could happen. If not, there is a few other Filipino fighters who could give tough fights for Simsri, so they're kind of top contenders that you would look at and probably think they would go on to fight next. But I mean, this isn't a fight that's going to really create headlines or make statements for Simsri, but it's a fight in which at least, has gotten him a world title, and that is, of course, a big achievement for any fighter. And so, yeah, that is it for today's video. Hope you did enjoy. Like the video if you didn't, like the video, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.